if you are fortunate enough to maybe live in a developed country, like maybe in the Los Angeles area, or maybe in Hong Kong, or in Singapore, you tend to feel a lot more calm, and you tend to feel, okay, I'm finally accepted. It's because these areas accept TCK. However, if you're, let's say you're back in Indonesia, maybe a country that is still developing, and well, these kind of cultures is not common. So as a result, you just feel frustrated. It's because, like I mentioned, you want to feel like you're a bigger part of the world. You need to have an outlet. So as a result, this creative outlet is on way as a solution that I can recommend.
Hi everyone, welcome to BTV Travel, and today I'm very privileged to be able to invite Calvin to my show, and today we're going to talk about third culture kid, and he's going to share a little bit about his experience as a third culture kid. So also, how old were you when you moved to Singapore?
Yeah.
How old were you when you moved there, and how long have you lived there?
I was there when I was 11. I lived there for 15 years or so. So I think you guys can guess my age. I have no need to hide it. I'm 27.
Other question I would like to ask you is, what is your most memorable experience as a third culture kid?
Wow. Actually, third culture, to be fair, I guess when growing up as a third culture kid is that we don't see or we don't experience the main benefit of it until we are older. The thing is because when we were young, we tend to be a lot more insecure. I guess it happens when you're a teenager. And as a TCK, we find it even harder. It's because, let's say, when we participate in a school event, if we get rejected, it's already feels like rejection. And then for TCK, it feels like exclusion because you don't feel that you belong. Actually, well, I work for my dad. I am in property development, but now I advocated and I help TCK to help with their struggles by doing things like articles and my own show, Global Citizens.
Yeah,
so
you can share your website with us as well.
Yeah.
If you like and the channels that you do on Facebook.
I actually only have Facebook and Instagram. I created the show because at that time I was feeling anger, frustration, and headache. Because at that time, I left Singapore. It's because I actually work for a British employer. So by no means is my boss is like what people like to say, oh, bad boss or a tyrant of sort. In fact, he's actually a really nice guy. In fact, he's the best one I've ever had as my employer. The problem was that he doesn't understand cultural differences. Is because he started business at a really tail end of the year, whereby really key decision makers and all of the important people are gone because they need to clear their holidays or they are on leave and etc. At that time, it motivated me because when I was back in Indonesia, I already do not have a good experience with a boss that I think is a good guy. And well, I was one of the first to start with the company. So in a sense, it's like I failed my startup. So that's one. Then I went back to Indonesia. If you guys are TCK who are Asians and you all grow up in a Western part of the world, prepare to get a ton of headache when you are older and you're working for your father because cultural differences and generational differences is vast. So I've got two headaches. As a result, I created multiple outlets because I want people to actually know that, hey, you guys are not alone. And yeah, I guess that's the main benefit of TCK as when you are older. But when you are younger, it's really, really going to be tough.
Yeah. Calvin here, he is actually the founder of Global Citizens. So he was able to interview many different TCKs and try to share their experience and give them a voice and an outlet, an opportunity for them to speak out to the world. And that sense, they won't feel so alone. And there's more TCKs out there than you think. So my next question for you is that what are some of the challenges you faced growing up as a TCK?
Wow. I really hope I don't cry. Okay. Okay. So earlier I mentioned is that when you feel rejected as a TCK means you are rejected, it doubles the whammy in a sense. Is because first you don't feel that you belong. Second is that when you fail or you lost out in something, it makes you feel like you're excluded, that we don't want you to belong for one in a host country. The second one is, I guess, is the feeling that as though your existence is wrong, I guess, even though in a harshest way. So what I'm trying to say is that, of course, I mean, everybody have their own lives, everybody have their own journey, yeah. But the thing is that one thing that we TCK tend to be is that it's a double edge to us, is that we don't see things the same way as most people see. So when you come to a country, maybe they see a certain issue as offensive. For a TCK, it's just okay. It's nothing out of the ordinary. It's fine for us. So as a result, people will look at you as like, what is wrong with you? So it makes you feel that your existence is wrong, and this is especially painful at a really really young age. In fact, in my first year, at that time I was in primary school, I only eat at one stall. In fact, the Chinese noodle stall. Because the reason being is that that's the only place that serves a food that is salty enough for my tongue. Because Indonesians tend to eat things that is so salty that we cannot. Yeah, as a result, we can't stand when the food doesn't have any flavor. And then, as a result, we got demoralized, and well, it led to a bad habit of eating junk food because junk food is bombed with salt. So that's the only thing we can eat. I think my older sisters shared this experience when they first came to Singapore. Of course, they came in at an older age, so they know who they are. They are not a teenager anymore. I came in as a kid, so all I know is being a Singaporean. So when I actually need to accept Indonesian culture, it seems hard to me because this is what I know, this is how I live. And in fact, in my first year in Indonesia, compared to when I was younger, it's easier to adapt because I'm an older. So the thing is that when I return back, is because what I know, what I feel is considered progress or could be considered better to an Indonesian, it might not seem that way. In fact, it might seem disrespectful. So as a result, I feel, why can't you guys just accept my way? It's faster, it's a lot more efficient, but you refuse to accept it because you want to respect culture, which doesn't make sense to me. So I guess in a sense that is tough. And I think this is something that a lot of TCK tend to be, is that we might seem like a snob or insensitive. So this is something that I actually noticed in a lot of my guests. TCKs I think I'm fortunate enough to only grow up in two countries. And I grew up in one for over a decade, so it's fine for me. But there are multiple TCKs who grow up in okay, the record on my show is 12 countries.
Wow, 12
countries.
Wow. I thought I broke the record, but somebody else broke mine.
No, the record on my show is 12 countries. The runner-up is 10, the third is 7, and the fourth is 6.
Yeah, mine's like 4.
I haven't mentioned the shocking part. I think the record of the most number of countries visited by a TCK guest of mine is 150.
150. Wow.
There's 195 nation under the United Nations Charter, so she's short of 45.
I want to go to that many countries in the future. Yeah. How many countries have you visited?
Let's see, 5.
5. Oh, can
5
you tell us what they are?
Indonesia and Singapore is my home, so that's 2. I went to India once as a military exchange program. School military exchange program. I was supposed to go to Thailand, but no, that doesn't count since at that time there was some epidemic at my house, so I can't go. So I went to Hong Kong and Taiwan.
Okay.
At that time, they were still independent states. And I went to South Korea in 2018 to visit my cousin who is half Korean. He's also a TCK, by the way.
Wow, cool. We were saying some challenges you experienced.
Oh, yes. Okay. So
TCK, yeah, go ahead.
So TCK might seem like a snob at times, or maybe too outright, too blunt, too direct. And
Yeah.
for some countries, there's something called the hostile cultural dimension. There are countries that is typically do not want to accept bluntness because too direct. I think this is a little bit more in the Southeast Asian countries. So the reason being is that TCK do not have a filter on this is because we constantly have a separation anxiety, is that we are constantly moving around. I mean, like I mentioned, I'm fortunate enough to only grow up in 2 countries, but like I said, there are people who grow up in 12 countries. So as a result, when they tend to be moved from places to places, they need to immediately get rid of a sense of attachment. So as a result, when they speak to somebody, it's like, this is who I am. I don't have the time to sugarcoat it. I don't have the time to win you over. I need to be this way. This is who I am. You're my friend or you're not my friend. Get out of this. So that tends to be a little bit of a problem at times, because especially in the era of social media, because this kind of behavior could be reported if it goes viral, and it will be trouble at the end of the line for you. So along with that, but that's, I think, only some of the challenges that TCK face. But I know there's one more, but I can't recall what it is.
I just want to ask how you learned to cope with it with time.
Oh yes, okay. Now I remember Now I remember what issue that I want to mention, and it's fact the solution for this one. Okay, you need to have a creative outlet for one thing. So TCKs, due to the fact that we are exposed to different environments, different kind of cultures. So for Singapore itself is actually, if you are somebody from other country, you're already exposed to TCK experience, because Singapore itself is composed of 4 different kind of ethnicity. And as a result, yeah, when you are there, you are exposed to what TCKs tend to experience in a lesser way, because like, for example, Singapore's education system is that it's not an elevator school. Most of the public school is that once you finish your primary school, when you advance to the middle school part, it depends on your aggregate score, and well, you might separate from your primary school friends. So you will go to a school that is far away from where you are. So in a sense, it is simulated feelings of TCK, but the thing is you can still see them on the weekends. And why I mentioned you need to have a creative outlet for TCK is because you get to expose to different kind of cultures, ethnicity, and in fact, entertainment. Yeah. And then you are back to your own home, or you finally settle down. If you are fortunate enough to maybe live in a developed country, like maybe in the Los Angeles area, or maybe in Hong Kong, or in Singapore, you tend to feel a lot more calm, and you tend to feel, okay, I'm finally accepted. It's because these areas accept TCK. However, if let's say you're back in Indonesia, maybe a country that is still developing, and well, these kind of cultures is not common. So as a result, you just feel frustrated. It's because, like I mentioned, you want to feel like you're a bigger part of the world. You need to have an outlet. So as a result, this creative outlet is on the way as a solution that I can recommend. Like, for example, doing a show like this, or like my own show, or you can write a blog or articles. Basically, it's to be able to empty out what you have, what you are thinking of, what you see, and you make something out of it. Because, well, that is a way for you to understand that I still have this experience. This experience is not just gone away, because I need to accept my host country's culture. So now I remember I still have all of this, and I formed something out of it, so it can make you remember that everything that you have experienced is not gone to waste.
Mm-hmm.